What up, everybody? Legit here, playing a multi-table tournament. It's the $25 buy-in, 40K guaranteed on Pokerstars. And as you can see, I've built up a very big stack in the middle stages here. This guy, 8-6 suited and small blind. You could complete or raise here. I'm going to raise just because the big blind's been playing so tight, as you can see. So, and take it down. Sometimes I'll complete there with hands like that. Sometimes I raise. Obviously, I don't want him thinking I only raise his blind when I have big hands, because then I won't get action on my big hands. But yeah, so that was the thought behind that. Yeah, so I guess I can talk about big stack play. People tend to not understand the significance of a big stack or how to play it appropriately. You really shouldn't, unless you're on the bubble or there's some other psychological factor weighing in. You really aren't playing any more aggressive than you would normally play, other than the fact that you have X number of big blinds, so an open raise is only a small percentage of your stack, whereas if you were a short stack, you have to play fewer hands because it's such a big percentage of your stack. But when it comes to what hands you're playing against other players, as you can see, most of these players, like 3,000, they're all, between 15 and, or no, like 10 and 15 big blinds deep, maybe 20, and then there's a couple big stacks. So just because you have a big stack, you still have to take into consideration the stack depth of most of your opponents and how that'll affect your play. In other words, when you are this particular depth and most of your opponents have 20 big blinds or less, that's a good stack size for them to be reshoving on your raises. So it's not like you can just start, stealing every pot or whatever. So you should pretty much play how you would normally play, more or less. Only difference is with a big stack, you can play certain hands against other big stacks that you wouldn't play. Like say maybe another big stack opens in middle position. In my situation, the other big stacks are to my left, so this wouldn't happen. But say they were to my right and they open 2.5x, you might call with a hand like 2-3s, where basically against anyone else at the table you can't, just because you can't. There's no set value, and the shorter stacks opening means they probably have a decent hand. So yeah. So anyways, those are the main considerations. You have to be aware of what the other stack sizes are around you and how that affects what your decisions will be. Not just, I have a big stack so I can spew some of my chips. That's what some people, even if they aren't consciously thinking, is what they really end up doing. Yeah, and playing a lot of online tournaments where the blind to stack ratio isn't that big necessarily. I'm not really, I don't have a big stack that often, because usually when you have a big stack, like early in the tournament, you either win on a sick heater or you're just a bad player playing too many hands and got lucky in a couple of them in a row. Most of the good players will have, medium-sized stacks for most of the tournament in general. That's not obviously just like a flat truth, but online, and where the blinds go up relatively quickly and the stack to blind ratio is not very big, that's kind of true. But yeah, when you're a big stack and everyone else is a short stack, effectively you still have to play as if you were a short stack. In my situation, I have two big stacks to my left who are really tight and nitty, so that does allow me to steal more blinds when I'm on specifically the button or the cutoff, because this guy, even though he's short, is playing way too tight also. So yeah, so whereas if I had a 15 big blind stack, or maybe 18 or something like that, even with the tighter players behind me, it's still tough to play a lot of hands to steal, because open raising is such a high percent of your stack. When it's only, a very small percent of your stack, like it would be for me, then I can definitely take advantage of that. Whereas you might not be able to otherwise. Excuse the cough. Okay, 8-6 off in the big blind. If nothing strange happens, I'll be folding, obviously. Yeah. So, anyways, poker is fun. Poker is good. Play poker because poker is great. Don't you agree? I know you do. Okay, now I'm obviously folding here, and I'll do it just so. But notice he has an 8x stack, and he shoved on my big blind from middle position. And from what I've observed, he's probably a decent player. So in this spot where I just was, where he shoved an 8x stack from my big blind, you should be calling with a lot of hands that you probably aren't calling with, or that you think you shouldn't be calling with in that spot. Especially if you know this guy's a competent or decent player, which I suspect he is. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he is. And when that's the case, then you need to really, really open your calling range up right there, because his shoving range is super wide, and you have to therefore widen your own calling range quite a bit. Okay, this again, this is not really. This is pretty a standard raise right here. Just ace-3 off on the button. Both these guys just keep folding it like way too much. So even if I had a lot weaker hand than ace-3, I'd be raising right there with a very wide range of hands. Same thing in this spot, cutoff. I'd be raising a very wide range of hands again, because again, look how tight these players are playing. Way too tight. And so, but 7-3 off is obviously the very, very bottom range of my hands, so I'm just going to throw it away. Yeah. And you don't want to be raising 100% of cutoffs and buttons. That becomes, even the nit tards and the blinds are going to figure that strategy out pretty quick. Anyways, that was some middle levels. This is a big stack. No exciting hands, unfortunately, but maybe some useful information. Thanks. Peace.